My name is Maria Lisa Stiller, and I want to show you a project that is very dear to my heart, powerProse. Often, confidence in the workplace is something women struggle with, and it's common to over apologize or use qualifying language like, it's just my opinion, or I'm not an expert, but, and it's sad because it's really unconscious behavior and it's hard to kick the habit. So we thought it'd be helpful to be able to observe how often you're doing this and possibly improve with those observations. So we built a web application that uses speech to text and tone analysis technology to help women decrease their use of qualifying words and phrases. Our biggest tech challenge just want to get was finding the right API. Most of them would only let you record for a minute or so, and we really wanted women to use this in long meetings or in phone interviews. So very rather quickly we landed on the IBM Watson API, and it was the only one that would work, even though we did struggle with real-time data rendering because it would take at least just 2 times speed, which means an hour-long meeting, you wouldn't see it for like 30 minutes, which is problematic. But we figured out a workaround. But anyway, so let's jump right in. I have us signed in over here. I was practicing, so let's go back to the speak page. This is what the user will be brought to right away when they sign in. You have all your watchwords. These are some suggestions. You can add new ones. You can get rid of some. But let's just take a practice round. I'm just trying to say that I was wondering, I'm not sure, I'm no expert, but does that make sense? I was wondering, sorry, and I will take just a little bit of milk with my coffee. It's been kind of finicky. Okay, here we go. So it did work. I can rename the recording. Not going to worry about that right now. But you can see every time a word was used, and it just allows you to see it as well as... Okay, it's not the perfect recording, but yeah, you can see when it's used, and you can see this feature was something we didn't initially think of. Basically, we're just like, yeah, you get to see your watchwords, you can see how often you use it, that's great. But then we figured out actually there's going to be times where some of these expressions are totally okay to use, and if we count them in the data, then the user's totally seeing inaccurate results and it's not going to be useful. So this became a priority to making this actually a really functioning tool. So you can see here, this is not medical but milk. I will take just a bit of milk with my coffee. I'm not going to want that in my data. That is a good use of the word just, so I can dismiss that. Submit, and now I have accurate counts, and I can see, and most of the time I use a tentative tone as predicted because that was all test data. And this was the feature that I built out, the snippet generation and how to basically make sure it didn't get counted against your data. So let's go to the code. So we use React to render our UI, so all our stuff's in components, and we use a Redux store to manage state. I'm going to look at the record button component, and we can see here that this is, it's going to handle the start and stopping and the pulsating, things like this, starting off the timer. And this is really when we get to hit the IBM Watson API. And we had to promisify the data so that we could get it incrementally, bit by bit, and be able to show you right away so you don't have to wait. But what I really want to show you is just like how from here we go into the render method, and you can see how snippets begin to get born, right? So first off, you have to like define it above the return, because otherwise with like in the render method, once you're in return, you need to use like JSX, and if it wasn't defined up here, it would be undefined or throw an error. So we have to define it, and basically if it is defined, then we would open up the snippets component, and we had to make sure that it existed. So if it does exist, you would open up the snippets component only if they do exist. If not, there's no point. And that's why there's this here. There's this ternary statement, because you also can't write an if else in here. So ternary, and if not, you don't do anything. So basically, you did a good job. You didn't use any of your watchwords, or you need to update more self-awareness and update your watchwords. Anyway, so let's go to snippets. And these are all code that I've written in both these components. So we passed, sorry, I meant to mention that as well. We passed snippets props of the chosen conversation, aka the current conversation. So we go into snippets and you'll see like this is state, everything's initialized, which you should always do since it allows like future users to see what type of data types belong there, but also, yeah. So I want to go to line 42, the handle request delete. So this function is specifically exists on the click, right, which is in the render method. My apologies if I'm moving a little quickly. Yeah, so this is what this is what it looks like when it pops up, right? And it has on request delete, and we pass it this function. So let's go back to line 42. So we're gonna take the snippets from state, and then because the snippets are an array, you can use indexing to find a specific snippet that got deleted, that wants to be deleted. And you can also, because it's an array, use a splice method to remove it. So here I want to get the ID of the watchword, because so something to keep in mind is that once I take out the snippet, I'm going to have to remove the occurrence, the use of it from that watchword, but I'm also going to have to decrease the amount of times that watchword was used at all. So I remove it here. I remove the snippet here by splicing it. And it's a little buried, so I have to like index it at that point in the array. Because I guess it's like, yeah, the snippet itself is also an array of different things, like the amount of times it's used and other, and if it's been deleted. My apologies. I know this inside and out, but right now I just want to review it for a second. Yeah, so this is, we want to find the ID of the watchword to get rid of. And then once we find that ID, then we can use, find the exact count that it currently has and decrement the count by 1 because we have deleted the snippet that was once previously there. Now, we don't want to just have, I figured the best way to do this would be to actually remove the watchword as it exists now. So basically I take the watchwords from state, filter out the watchword after I got the ID. My apologies. After I get the ID of the watchword, I would go through this the watchwords array and look for filter for where the array had watchwords that did not have that ID and keep everything there. Like I want everything but the watchword that has ID. So basically I'm removing the watchword entirely, and then I would replace it, add it back, but add back the updated watchword, which now has a decremented count, and it no longer has that original snippet set against it. And I would update the state with the new watchword object. And then this is handled by dispatching it at the end to our Redux store. When after it's submitted, we'd update the conversation data in the Redux store. Anyway, this is a tool we built. I'm really proud of it in many ways, and just wanted to share with you that bit of code because it's a small feature, but it was the feature that made it functional aside from like the things that we inherited from what the IBM Watson technology provided, which it provides also these tones perceived in conversation and things like this. We also have the ability to look through your data, which and you can like just pick which ones you'd like to see. But that I felt like in terms of generating a useful tool was like one of the more complicated aspects of creating this UI. One of the more complicated functions that we had to make, or that I had to make. So that's why I wanted to share it with you, and thank you for your time.